Hello and welcome to episode 78 of Kaiju Curry House, the fortnightly show that gives you a healthy dose of kaiju goodness every other Monday. I'm joined by my co-host Joe, and we have a special guest today, CEO and Creative Director of 13am Games, Alex Rushdy. Alex, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm very looking forward to your game that's, I believe, coming out next year. And you're going to tell us all about that. But first, as is custom at the Curry House, we just like to know what we've been up to. So I'm going to start off and say, Joe, what have Kaiju been up to?
It has been a busy week for the Joe. I've been doing a lot of driving, a lot of working. But what I have managed to do is watch the first episode, or the first movie, I guess you should say more, of the Daimajin trilogy, which I was so very, nicely gifted by my friends, Alex and Paul, who are our co-hosts. And it was done by Arrow Video. It was very tastefully done. I had an old version of Daimajin that I watched originally when I saw the first movie. And I am so impressed with the restoration. Arrow has done a phenomenal job. I cannot praise them highly enough in that respect. It's just one of those things that you never really thought it was going to get like this level of treatment, and then they've gone and knocked it out of the park. So if you haven't gotten your hands on Daimajin and you're thinking about it, it is totally worth it to buy the Arrow release. Go for it. Other thing that I did this week, which is kind of connected to Kaiju, I watched the Transformers Kingdom on Netflix, and it has the Beast Wars Transformers on it, of which I got to see a Tyrannosaurus Rex Megatron and a Dinobot, Velociraptor Dinobot from Beast Wars. And it was great to see them in all of their new CGI glory. And I think they did both of the characters justice, and I was really happy with that. So yeah, cool old school dinosaurs from my childhood. The Velociraptor didn't have feathers, so it took minor credence with that because it is nowadays, but because they modeled it off the original one, colors and all, it was great. I think that they've done a marvelous job with all three of the segments of those Transformers cartoons. I showed it to my kids and they loved it. So, if you've got some Transformers fans in the house that like dinosaurs, now is your opportunity. Netflix has done you a solid. You will, however, have to watch the first two seasons to have any rational idea of what is going on. But yeah, it was great times. So, Paul, I'm going to turn it back on. Well, no, I can't turn it back on you. That would be rude of me. Alex, what have Kaiju been up to?
I've also been pretty busy recently with work, and then I was able to actually get out of town and go camping last weekend.
Oh, nice.
Which was very pleasant. But I finished Ultraman Rube recently, that series, which I ended up really, really enjoying. It kind of took me by surprise because I wasn't expecting much out of it. And that was a lot of fun.
Sorry, I don't really know Ultraman apart from the Netflix animated show.
Thank you for saying that before me, Paul. I've seen the original and the Netflix one. That's it.
So is this the latest Japanese version of it?
So Rube is, I want to say it's from 2017 or maybe 2018. So it's one of the newer shows. And the idea of it is that you've got these two brothers who live with their sister and their dad in his like t-shirt shop. And their mom is like missing. She was studying, the stars and astronomy or something at a company, and she's gone missing.
How did she meet their dad?
I don't know, but they're a really funny couple because he's super weird and she's very like go-getter, energetic.
This must have been like one of those coffee shop or like pub moments. That's
or
awesome.
Like they went to high school together or something. I'm not really sure. But anyway, so they're like, we don't know where our mom is. Things are kind of weird things start happening. Long story short, they both find a relic and they are both transformed into Ultraman. So they're like brother Ultraman. And so they kind of have to cooperate and learn to get along to fight these monsters. And it leads to a lot of it's a pretty comedic series. Like you'll see the Ultraman, they're learning to be Ultraman and they'll like accidentally stumble and like, knock over someone's car, and then they'll daintily like place it back on the road and be like, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's a really fun series. Some neat twists and turns. Some very interesting characters.
So I'm curious. These are like the giant Ultramen, like proper Ultramen. Well, the Netflix one, they went, like
they shrunk them.
Yeah, that Ultraman went through the wash. Anyways, so these Ultramen, like these biggins, these brothers. So when they are actually in Ultraman mode, are they going "Kah!" the whole time, or is there dialogue?
They talk. They still talk, and they talk to each other. They coordinate.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll like throw insults at each other or at the monster.
Does the monster understand these insults?
Usually no, but later on there's a character who
usually no. So there are.
Because later on there's a character who can control monsters. It's almost like instead of transforming into Ultraman, she can transform into monsters, and so they're like fighting her. It's pretty interesting. I myself and my fellow Kaiju crew have been just going through, I think, pretty much every Mill Creek Ultraman set. And Rube is just the latest. Now I'm on to Ultraman Taro, which is from the 70s and is like the wildest, weirdest Ultraman show. If you think like Godzilla versus Megalon is nuts, like one episode of Taro is like twice as crazy, at least.
You see, Alex, co-host Alex, because I know you're listening to this, it's moments like these whilst you're on holiday that you should have been here to defend your beloved Godzilla versus Megalon, which is a shockingly weird film from start to
Godzilla
finish.
versus Megalon.
Oh no! We're not saying that it isn't a lovable film, but it is shockingly weird in a way that only Godzilla versus Gigan can match.
Yeah, 100%. There's so many things when you stop to think about that movie, you're like, why? Like, there's no women in the movie except for the people wearing the rain ponchos dancing. And like when someone explained that, when someone told me the first, oh yeah, there's no women in that movie, and I was like,
okay, I'll raise you one better. Why does the Seatopia King guy have a tattoo of a tiger? He lives under the ocean. How does he know what a tiger is?
And he's got a mini megalon on his head. He's got
the Megalodon tiara has been raised before on this podcast. Yeah. We love that movie.
The tiger tattoo, that's a good one. There's also like a porn mag spread in the back of the truck.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I've caught that.
I think that's the only real nudity in a Godzilla film. Because like Katsura's breasts are like rubber.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a strange film. I love it, but it is bizarre.
It is so bizarre. It's awesome though. I love the dolphin thing. The dolphin rider, whatever you want to call it. That's awesome. But it's just like, who came up with that thing? Like, it's not going anywhere.
It's not doing anything. They have to pull it in because it has no forward momentum.
No, it was great. Absolutely great. And then like the other part too is just, that was a hell of a throw to get that rope all the way out there when you see where he was. Like, you could be in the Olympics, dude.
Yep.
Oh, just so many great things about that movie.
So yeah, aside from Rube, I also recently watched War of the God Monsters from SRS Cinema.
Mm-hmm.
I got it on VHS tape because I've got a collection of kaiju tapes. I love
nice
videotapes. That movie is
like these.
Yes. Oh, Prehysteria. I love that movie.
Moonbeam Entertainment, baby. Yeah.
War of the God Monsters is like inscrutable. It's like half weird Korean sort of adventure drama comedy, and then the rest of the movie is literally just stock footage from a bunch of Ultraman shows, just the monsters. So they and like there's a reason for it. It's because they couldn't release Ultraman in Korea, so they just bought the footage and made a movie around the monster footage. But because they don't show Ultraman, like Ultraman never shows up. They don't want to show Ultraman. The monsters show up, they smash the city, and like, okay, what are they going to do to stop them? And they just don't. Like the movie just ends because like Ultraman kills them in the show. They don't have footage of them dying any other way. Weird movie, but if you like strange,
that does sound really interesting. Yeah.
It'd be great to show to like a bunch of kids. Like the kids are like, oh, how are they going to win? How are they going to defeat the monsters? And then the movie just ends just like, Sometimes, children.
That's what I've been doing recently.
Very cool.
Wow, fair bit.
Well, now you get to turn it on Paul, so we come full circle.
So, Paul, what have Kaiju been doing?
Well, I watched a film called The Tomorrow War. So
that's a good one. I told you about that one.
Recent release on Amazon Prime with Chris Pratt, where he's going 18 years into the future to fight these aliens and save mankind. And I really like the aliens in it. You know, they're not big. They're kind of like about the size of like the Host type creature.
Okay.
They're a novel design. I haven't seen anything really like them.
Yeah,
before.
they're quite unique, and especially because they got like two tails. I want to say that spit out
tentacly bits. Yeah,
tentacles at the back that spit out
prehensile appendages.
They're very cool.
Yeah,
they're
cool.
very nasty looking.
I haven't seen that movie, but I saw in Japan to promote it, they had like a full-scale model of one of those creatures in like the back of a truck that they were driving around.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's a cool way to promote a movie.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the good thing is because they're not.
They did that with
massive.
Gorgo, didn't they? They did that with Gorgo. They did that with Gorgo, and I think they also did it with Gamera.
Yeah,
so,
Gamera the Brave.
With Gamera.
Yeah, Gamera the Brave. Remember how like Toto is like Toto sized, and they have it on like the back of a truck after they captured it. Yeah, so they just totally drove around Japan with that thing. And then Gorgo, you see Gorgo at like on the back of a lorry in the original film. Like they totally drove that model around to help promote the movie.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the shots of it going through Piccadilly Circus is actually just like they just drove it around, and those are just real people.
Yeah,
like looking at it. It's just
they're promoting it and filming it at the same time. That's
exactly.
fantastic.
Gorgo's real. That actually happened.
That actually happened. It's a documentary, believe it or not.
Yeah, Finding Gorgo. We have.
Gorgo.
It's amazing. You should watch it, Paul.
Yes, Johnny, will do. Anyway, as I was saying, Tomorrow War. What I really liked is that the aliens weren't massive, so they're not destroying the buildings; they're in the buildings. So when the soldiers are trying to extract some samples from a lab, the creatures are running through the corridors. They're running down the stairwell after them. So and they're bigger than like the xenomorph, but it's still that claustrophobic feeling that they are coming. They are coming fast for you, and they won't just die easily. So. Yeah, I really like that film. It's quite. It's about 2.5 hours. It was a bit on the long side, but thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, it kind of starts over again at one point, though.
Well, that's it, because it kind of ends and then carries on.
Yeah, it's cool. We're not going to spoil too much because Alex.
No, I don't want to give any spoilers, but
yeah. It had a feel. It was kind of like the alien creatures. I got World War Z vibes, and the fact that they're always
like the swarms.
They're swarming, yeah, and they're just like
I know what you mean.
Hand over claw, and it's just like, wow, that's intense.
Yeah, it's like that scene in Alien vs Predator, where you see all these animals running up the pyramid towards the Predator.
Oh yeah.
But rather than it being a 10-second clip, it's like, no, this is actually a fair few chunk of the film.
Yeah. There's at one point there. I mean, this is just exposition, sorry, I should say. But you just see the aliens chasing some horses because like they're just hunting down anything that they can eat, and like the horses are running, and then you just suddenly see like 70 of these damn things like appear and like go after them. It's like, oh, those horses are having a bad day. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much of mankind left. The aliens have kind of taken over the world in the future, so there's a lot of them. Absolutely. And other than that, I happen to pick up
it is.
Biollante Deferreal model, which isn't quite as big as I imagined. It still fits nicely on a shelf. It's not too big.
Yeah.
But the acid that kind of drips out just adds such an extra effect that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But yeah, really, really happy. So I got that. I got an email the other day from Awesome Collector saying it shipped, and I thought I'll be saying on here, oh, I've had an email saying it shipped, and within days it arrived. And I was like,
nice,
wow.
Like you don't get that during COVID anymore.
No, that's it. I was thinking I'm not used to anything arriving soon, let alone something from Japan. So that was very impressive.
You know, it's funny because I ordered something from Japan on Buyee. I want to say December 2020, and it took about 5 months to get here. And then I ordered something from Buyee again in like June, and it got here in like a week. And I was like, what's going on? Like, I paid a little bit more for shipping, but not like a lot. And I was like,
Well, to be fair, Japan was one of the first countries that just like instituted like a proper lockdown and was like really stingy about how they were going to have things going. And they came out of it, didn't they?
It worked.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like at the time, people were just like, really? Like locking, like shutting everything down, early days. Little did we know.
yeah.
But
now things are picking back up, unfortunately. There's a lot of events and stuff being canceled, but hopefully they can get over that hump.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hopefully someday we'll get back to normal. Until then, all those nerds will just have to live in their houses and play their games and enjoy all the things. But yeah, anyways, speaking of games, someone's coming out with a game we hear.
Yes, I am.
Ooh. Should we take a break and then dive into that?
Absolutely.
There we go. Hello and welcome back to Kaiju Curry House, episode 78. I'm your host, Joe, joined tonight, or today, even depending upon when you're listening, my regular co-host, Paul. And we found an Alex. Unfortunately, it's not regular co-host Alex, but we're drumming it up because this is Alex Rushdy, and he is doing Dawn of the Monsters, which is a new game which will be coming out February of 2022. So we're going to talk about that. Alex, what have you got for us? Give us some great deets.
Sure. So Dawn of the Monsters is a cooperative, kind of like Kaiju beat 'em up. So if you can envision something along the lines of Final Fight or Streets of Rage, but with giant monsters and fully destructible environments. And that's kind of what we're making. So there's 4 different playable characters. You visit 4 different locations across the globe. And the story of the game is that it's set in the future, kind of after some, climate crises have happened. And those have also unearthed these monsters called the Nephilim. And the Nephilim are invading and taking over whatever is left of humanity and nesting. So you're part of an organization called Dawn, and Dawn has a team of kaiju that they're using to wipe out the Nephilim. So you travel around the planet, destroy hordes and hordes of these monsters, and try to cancel the apocalypse effectively.
There we go.
And over the course of the game, you uncover a lot of mysteries about the Nephilim, about Dawn itself, and the various people that work for it. And it should be coming out in February. It's going to have online co-op, so you can play with your friends.
Awesome.
That was it. Didn't originally have online co-op, but once COVID happened, we were like, well, we shouldn't be encouraging people to play the game with their friends in their house. So you can play with a buddy, even if you're not in the same room.
Is it 4-player co-op?
It's 2-player co-op.
2-player co-op, but with 4 playable characters to choose from.
Yeah. And each character you can kind of upgrade and augment them, so you can give them new abilities and stuff as you play. It's got some light role-playing game elements in there, so you can customize them to kind of fit your play style. And each character is pretty unique in how they fight.
That's awesome. So in February, where are we going to find this game? So if we want to play it, where do we go?
So you'll be able to pick this game up on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation
awesome.
4, PlayStation 5,
Wow.
Xbox One, Xbox Series X and Series S, PC, Google Stadia.
You got like a full house there.
But
That's
I
amazing.
don't think there's anything left.
You've hit them all.
We want to make sure that there is no excuse as to why you can't play this game.
Fair enough.
And it'll be available as a digital download, and we're also looking into having like a physical version that you can pick up as well. If some people like the physical copy of the game,
have a disc,
edition and stuff.
Yeah, like limited run or something.
Yeah. So the goal is to have it on pretty much everything under the sun.
That's awesome. You don't normally see something that's just that friendly across all the platforms. And we've really been sorely missing kaiju games that you can just play on like a PlayStation or what have you. I think since Pipeworks kind of left the scene on that front, we really haven't had much that's been like a great multiplayer game for any kaiju. And yeah, like I said, it's just sorely missed. That's awesome.
So, and that style of game, because I loved Streets of Rage and Golden Axe, those side scrollers. And we recently had, I say recently, 2-3 years ago, probably, Streets of Rage 4 came back, and me and a friend played that one night and just had so much fun. And so now
there's a bit of a renaissance for these kind of games, I feel like. Yeah,
so they always seem to loop round, don't they? I think it's been so long that people want a couch co-op experience and they want to just beat things up, have a bit of fun. And
it's also like, when we were first coming up with this project, and we initially had plans to make it a fighting game. But what happened was we were trying to think of ways to make it a little more unique, because there are a lot of kaiju fighting games and there's a lot of good ones. But it just kind of like clicked when we realized, like, hey, we love co-op beat 'em ups, and there isn't one with like giant monsters. And we thought that was like, that's insane. Like, that shouldn't be the case. We need to change that. So like, in our game, instead of picking up like crowbars and, I don't know, daggers, you can just pick up an entire building and you can smash it over a guy. You can pick up you can pick up a kind of missile launcher tank, and you can use it like a gun, and you can fire missiles at them. So, we take a lot of advantage of that format and of the scale too. You can do a lot of fun and pretty violent stuff.
So I'm going to ask a question here, because this is something I've always wanted to do in a monster game. And I feel like this conversation, is such that I can mention it and something might actually happen.
All right.
What if I was a monster and I wanted to pick up another monster and beat a monster with that monster over the head?
Huh. So you can't in this game, but what you can do is you can grab a monster's head, rip it off, and then you can pick that head up and beat another monster with it. So it's you can get a part of the monster.
That's going a step far for me. That's so impolite to that monster. But I was thinking more along the lines of, you've seen the memes, just get it by the tail. And
swing it around.
I was really, but you took it as far, I guess, as you can go there.
You can also punch a monster so hard that it'll ricochet and fly and then hit another monster.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are good in-game mechanics that you've come up with there.
Well, because in all the old arcade games, it was kick, punch, jump.
Yeah.
And that's you might be able to pick up an object and throw. But from what I understand, you've got, is it like a combo system where you can throw them up in the air, juggle them?
Yeah. So when we were kind of planning our combat, we wanted it to be, I guess, a little more meaty than your average retro beat 'em up. So we were looking more at like fighting games and also action games like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta. So
nice.
If you want to, you can just have fun and kind of button mash and hope for the best. But if you really dig your teeth into it, you can knock things up into the air. You can cancel into like flame breath that keeps them juggled, and then you can, juggle them around, slam them into walls and buildings, have them bounce off and keep pummeling them. And when you've got a friend in the mix, the kind of wombo combos you can do, passing monsters back and forth between each other, gets pretty nuts. And then for each, combat segment, you're actually graded. So if you manage to kill things really quickly and efficiently, and you manage to never drop your combo meter, you'll get a grading. And once the whole thing is graded, you get it goes from S plus all the way down to F. Depending on how well you performed, how destructive you were, you'll get better loot at the end of a mission.
Nice. Okay. And then you use that loot to upgrade your creature with what is it, new abilities or new, like, stronger, faster, that type of thing? What's the skill?
Do they like evolve, look different, anything like that?
They don't look different, but they get kind of a set of new abilities. So you have we call them DNA augments. So the idea is that you're actually injecting them and changing their kind of natural kaiju abilities. So you can equip up to 3 of them. at once. And they have a main ability, a main perk. So for example, one of them might be every time you roar, you're invincible. And another one might be, I'm trying to think of all the ones off the top of my head. When your health is low, you deal double the damage. And then another one might be, you know, when you're performing light attacks, you can't get stunned or something. So then you can create these kind of synergies between these three augments that you can equip. You can create quite the devastating combos. And then with each ability is a bunch of stats. So you'll get, you know, beefed up attack, beefed up defense, and then, you know, crit chance, crit damage, rage generation, which is kind of your resource to do special moves. There's all sorts of, you know, movement speed, attack speed. There's there ends up being quite a bit of strategy in picking what you want and what you want to kind of prioritize and across all four characters.
Okay,
that's really cool.
That's cool, yeah, because I like to choose my play style. You know, when I'm doing a shooter, I was playing Outriders recently, and you get all these different mods for your guns and all your equipment, and so I can say, right, I'm going to use an assault rifle, so I'm going to go for the mods that do damage on that, or ones that focus on healing or something like that. So yeah, really appreciate things that let me choose my own play style. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's inspired by a number of different things, but a game that I've always really liked is Monster Hunter.
Okay.
And in Monster Hunter, you kind of equip different pieces of armor with different abilities on them. So I would, in any game that allows me, I like to just max out my crit chance and crit damage as much as possible, so that like there's a chance that every, I don't know, 5 hits or something, I'm going to do crazy damage. That's.
I always go for tank. I always go for tank.
Okay.
One of the abilities in this game is it slows you down. Like your movement speed goes down a little bit.
That would be a tank, yeah.
And then your defense is jacked up insanely, and like you almost just can't get stunned. So it's called Moving Fortress, and it just turns you into a lumbering beast. It can be pretty fun, especially against bosses.
Yeah, I just remember it goes back to Dungeons and Dragons. Like, you know, there's one person that's always the thing. And before I found out that paladins were no fun, like you couldn't deviate, I you know, I was like, oh yeah, paladin, like armor me up, let's do this. And then you realize if like there's even one sad little child on like in the village side quest, you're just like, okay, we'll do this first. Where it's like a rogue, just like, oh, that's tough, just walk on by. But you know, it is what it is. But no, I love tanks. So I had a question. So you named a lot of platforms where you can do digital downloads, where, you know, like you aren't necessarily limited in what you can add or subtract to a game. So this game, are you planning on doing expansions with it? Like say new towns or new characters or what have you? Is it something that's going to grow with the fan base?
Assuming that the game does well, and I mean, so far the reaction has been really great. That's something we would love to do. We've already got ideas.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
with our first game, Runbow, we did that. We added a bunch of extra stuff post-release. So
that's cool. Yeah. So you're going to add the thing where you can whack somebody over the head. You know, like sweet. You know, like be a special move.
Specifically add that.
It'd be called the Joe move or something.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's awesome. So can you get in a playthrough, even if I was rubbish, would I be able to get my creature up to a decent level? Or if I say I get D rankings all the way through, is there then a new game plus mode that I could go in with my current upgrades and continue to upgrade on multiple playthroughs?
So there isn't a new game plus right now. It's something that's one of the things we'd probably like to add if we do DLC. But even if you're, you know, bad at the game and you're not getting the best scores or whatever, the variety of augments that you can get is wide enough that it's kind of like built-in difficulty control. So like if you're really good at the game, you might equip something like, I think I don't remember the name of it, but there's an augment that like increases your damage a lot, but it decreases your defense a lot.
Yeah.
So you might only take a couple of hits and then you're gonna die. Whereas if you're like struggling a bit, there's ones that increase the amount that you heal, and increase your defense and stuff. So when you deal enough damage to an enemy, it enters this state where it's kind of like flashing red, and it's kind of in this danger zone. And then if you have a little bit of rage, that kind of power bar resource, you can just instantly execute it. So you'll do an animation, you'll blow it up to smithereens, and then that'll actually heal you. So there's even some augments that make your executions more powerful or give you more health from it. And you can also run around and destroy buildings, and some of the buildings will have power-ups in them, like health and rage and all sorts of stuff.
So what kind of a playthrough time are we talking here? Like, just if someone was going to play through this game, how long should it take them?
So it's hard to say, because like we've been playing this game for, I guess, years now. But based on the play tests that we've done, we've had people come in, play through the whole game. It's around like 8 to 12 hours of game.
Okay, that's really good.
Game. Yeah.
And that's like just to get to the end credits. And then you can go back and try to get S plus rankings on everything. Yeah. You can try to read. There's actually a whole archive section with all the lore about the world and all that kind of stuff. So there's even a lot to do after you've seen the credits roll. And each time you get an S plus ranking, you unlock something. So I think for the first like 20 S plus rankings, you actually unlock a color palette for your character. And let's just say that fans like us and eagle-eyed kaiju fans are going to recognize some of those color palettes.
Nice.
Excellent. Okay. So speaking of that, are there any nods towards certain films in the game?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of, winks, nods, Easter eggs. I mean, there's a character called Dr. Evakin, and he is he's kind of the chief scientist at Dawn. So Dawn stands for, by the way, Defense Alliance Worldwide Network, and they're the organization that oversees defending the Earth. And so, for example, this scientist, this is one of the more like subtle ones. It was almost unintentional, but it was still included as intentional. He basically looks like Guillermo del Toro.
Nice.
Okay.
You'll recognize it when you see him. He's like Guillermo del Toro with a really big mustache.
Cool.
Yeah,
mustaches are always awesome.
Mustaches are great. Yeah, there's all sorts of fun little Easter eggs, and I'm looking forward to seeing people like.
That's everyone will be finding them and sharing screenshots on social media, hopefully.
Yeah. So, and some of them are pretty subtle.
So you've got stuff for some like fans our age and everything. So what is the age that you're targeting with this game? I mean, obviously it can go up to us and however, but say my 10-year-old sees me playing this and wants to have a go.
They'll dig it. Like it's aiming at a slightly older audience, but it's not M-rated. It's going to be a T-rated game.
Okay.
And it's still supposed to have that kind of pick up and play fun. And it really shines in co-op. So if you're playing with a friend, that's like, the most fun way to play it, in my opinion, at least. It's still fun on its own. But yeah, we've had normally in normal non-COVID times, we take our games to shows and people just walk up to the booth and play them. So we haven't been able to do that, but the kids that we have had test it have all really enjoyed it and gotten really excited.
Yeah, what's not to love? Giant monsters. This is great.
Anything with giant monsters is really gonna get people excited.
Yeah,
I mean, in our circles,
yeah.
They're like giant Pokemon, right? I mean, giant like. Digimon.
Oh yeah, giant Pokemon are a thing now. Yeah, I found this out. They call it a Gigantamax.
Yeah, those are just kaiju now. Pokemon are officially kaiju.
Well, you might argue with our co-host Alex there. Apparently, they're yokai. That was like our first thing. Yeah. So like I was calling him out. I was like, Mr. Mime is a very creepy yokai.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Don't. But yeah. Oh wow. So right. So this is coming out in February. So it's going to be kind of like a cold, icky time of year for a lot of folks, at least in our hemisphere. And it will be a co-op game. and it's fairly versatile for the types of folks that can play it. What is the learning curve on it? Do you have a tutorial in the game? I'd imagine you would. So
we've got a tutorial and we've got a in-game manual and all sorts of stuff to.
That's awesome. So I mean, like, if you're unsure, but you have someone who wants to play with you, or you want to, like, just give it a go, you have a tutorial. It's like, get you started. And it isn't like one of those ones where you're looking at it and then you have to press start, or you like pause and then you look like in the manual, or you look online like, oh yeah, this is how you do the thing. So that's really cool. I like that.
And on top of that, we've also got, so like, there's a manual you can access at any time. There's the first level where it serves as a tutorial.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, we've actually got a training lab. So if you want to just like go into a safe area where you can't die and practice combos and practice attacks, you can practice to your heart's content and see what each character is about.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, so the next thing I'm going to ask, and I feel like this is like the parents' question to ask, is there a suggested retail for this? Like, how much is this going to set me back this game?
I don't think we've confirmed it yet, but so like, don't quote me on this. I believe it's $29.99 US.
Okay, that's not so bad at all. I'm just thinking, February, that's coming like shortly after the Christmas, so parents got to ask.
Yeah, you got to be ready. It's got the perfect. That's the perfect weather for staying in and playing video games.
I will totally get it. For Dawn's getting the perfect gift for Valentine's this year. I'm telling you what.
Could you imagine? Hey, honey, let's
I
spend some
found
more
us a
time
co-op game.
Yeah.
Hey, it could happen.
Actually, I want to ask the story. How is this told? Is it like a comic book style? Is it cutscenes? What have you gone for?
So most of the story is told through fully voice acted kind of character portrait dialogue. So two characters slide on screen, they talk to each other. And so the human characters are all the characters that are involved in Dawn. And each kaiju kind of has like a human avatar. And so they're kind of the main characters in the story, and then there's everyone else that's around Dawn. And then in game, there are a couple of comic book style cutscenes that show up. And there's also kind of bonus chats you can do. So in between missions, you can kind of explore around and upgrade your characters and do stuff like that. And you can also just go and chat with members of Dawn and see the conversations that they're having. And then on top of that, there's an archives. And the archives is just a collection of images and text and other pieces of lore and history and profiles on all the kaiju that you meet.
That's awesome.
Yeah, do love a good profile.
Yeah, really a profile.
We wanted to make sure that it's not just like a like, okay, here's a kaiju game. There's kaiju, there's throwing stuff. Go off with it, because I mean, we all got into kaiju watching movies, and the movies are like usually 80 to 90% a story and then 10% action sequences. So figured having a good amount of motivation and justification for what you're doing was really key.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sounds like a really well-rounded game.
That's the hope.
Yeah, totally. So with these monsters, you said you had 4 main kaiju that you had to pick from. Are you open to describing them a little bit to get people amped up, or is this a secret waiting for release? Oh,
cool. So there's 2 of them that we've revealed. It's Megadon. Megadon is hold on, let me go grab Megadon.
Are these pictures, or do you have figures?
Oh yeah, I think we should bring up the figures actually, because
what? This isn't fair. I wasn't told that there was merch.
Yeah, it's quite rare actually that there's merch before the game's. Well, while the game's in development, you teamed up with someone, didn't you, to produce?
So believe it or not, so the company that made this is Seismic Toys, which is just another company that I made with a friend of mine.
Oh wow,
cool.
And we just decided, because we had been, kind of selling toys at a dealer's table at G-Fest for a couple of years, and we'd always talked about like, man, we should make a toy. It's my friend Chris Olio, and so we were talking about we should make a toy. we started making this kaiju game at like my day job of game developer. And I just called up Chris and I was like, hey, I want to show you something. You know, we could probably make a toy out of this, and it could be like a kind of marketing shtick. So we made it, and we weren't sure how it was going to do because it's for a game that wasn't out, but we sold them in 2019 and they sold out.
It's a good looking fig.
So I can see why you said you like your M1. It's definitely going for that quite vibrant.
That's great.
He's kind of translucent there with his thing. But anyways, so this is Megadon. He's probably the main dude for the game, and he's a dinosaur-like, Godzilla-like kaiju with 3 horns on his head, and he's a fire kaiju. So he actually has magma kind of coursing through his body, and he expels it through his fists. So when he punches things really hard, it creates little volcanic eruptions, explosions.
Nice.
He's a great all-around character. So he's really high damage, and he's great for learning the game. And then we have Ganira, which is this one here. So Ganira is a sea kaiju, kind of a crab kaiju.
Nice.
And so she's a tank. She's a lot tankier. She's a lot higher defense, a little slower. But what's cool about her is that she can slow enemies down. So if she performs attacks that like drenches them, their movement speed is slowed down. And she can also summon a little crab minion. She can summon this little crab monster that can go around and fight for her. So she can command it around.
That's cool.
And do stuff. So we're trying to make sure that each character has a really unique moveset, a really unique play style. And
those are gorgeous figures too. Absolutely incredible. Kudos to you for getting that off the ground.
Yeah. And then the other 2 characters I can't reveal yet. Hopefully we've got a trailer that's like locked.
Do you have merch of them already too?
Not yet, unfortunately.
I was going to say you get all the good stuff if you did.
We'll probably make one. But the other 2 characters are also like have quite unique.
Did you go for elements too, like water, fire, wind, earth? Cool.
So Megadon is fire, Ganira is water, and the other 2 characters, one of them is erode, which is like a defense down ailment, and the other one is shock. So
cool.
I like the sound of that one.
So they're also a little more like, let me put it this way. One of the characters that we haven't revealed yet has a massive gun.
I wonder who that could be. Could it be the electric sounding one?
Could be. Who can say? Who can say? But yeah, we try to cover a little bit of, you know, kaiju and tokusatsu.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Stuff for everybody. So.
Oh, this is shaping up to be a really fun game. And it is. I'm really amped. I love that you went with the full house approach, where you get all the consoles, because I just like, I remember like, oh man, like I don't have that one. I went for the other one. Like why is it doing this?
Yeah.
So yeah,
we've all been there and been like, man, I really want this, but I don't have X, Y, Z. And it's like,
yeah, it's gut wrenching when you have that. I remember when Halo came out, and it's just like, oh, I have a GameCube.
Oh, you didn't get much on a GameCube.
we had.
Well, you have Mario.
We had James Bond.
Yeah, Nightfire.
Was it Nightfire?
There's Nightfire and Agent Under Fire. I don't remember.
Okay, it wasn't GoldenEye though. That was the best one.
GoldenEye was great. Yeah. That's why when I was a kid, it had to be. So I had the GameCube. I had a buddy with an Xbox and a buddy with a PS2.
Oh, there you go.
We would be like, okay, what's out? Okay, you got to pick up Smash Bros. You have to get Halo, and you have to get GTA, and we'd have to, cycle around.
Yes, that's it. And it's still going on today, sadly. I mean, they just announced Wolverine, PlayStation exclusive. Like,
yeah, PlayStation only. It's like, okay,
man, Wolverine, Spider-Man was so good. Can't wait to play Wolverine.
Yeah.
I just, like, you can get from my background, I like dinosaurs and reptilian things, right? Like, I'm obsessed. People who have been listening to this podcast know that Joe's obsessed with large, dangerous, scary things. So my mom, I love this woman. She's amazing. She has shaped me into the person I am today. she wanted to go only Nintendo because they had the reputation for having like the cute, family-friendly games that don't get you into any trouble. What did the Jurassic Park games come out on? Everything else. So we got an N64, right? This was our game. We had Turok, which was ridiculously hard, and like you never got to see any dinosaurs other than like those weird raptors that you just.
That was rated 18. That was
that game was pretty gory too.
Yeah, right. Like what happened in that game? Nothing happened in that game. We never managed to get past like level 2 because
okay.
Yeah.
In Turok 2, there was a gun that would fire a bullet or a creature that would bore into the dinosaur's head to make them explode. It was very graphic.
Yeah, okay. We didn't have that. There was no.
You just had a lot of fog. And
I know, but
a lot of fog.
There was just a lot of fog, and there was no narration in the game. So, like, where are we going? Like, what's happening? What are we supposed to be doing right now? Anyways, that was Turok. So we had that, but then like, lo and behold, PlayStation gets the Jurassic Park game, and the Lost World looked glorious. I'm just sitting here like, really? So Joe saved up, got himself a PS1, played Lost World. I was not having it. And then Primal Rage was on PlayStation 2, but not Nintendo. So I was just sitting here again like, yeah.
And I remember even on the Super Nintendo, there was a Jurassic Park game on Super Nintendo, but the one on Genesis was way better.
Yeah. Again, I love my different. I didn't get a Super Nintendo until I was like 20. And then on the first things I was like, getting Primal Rage, getting Death of Superman, I'm getting Jurassic Park, I'm getting Super Godzilla. We're gonna do this right. So yeah.
You got there eventually.
I got there eventually, but gosh darn it, N64. I mean, like it had Super Smash Brothers, it had Mario Kart. Like they were great games, but they weren't like the edgy, cool dinosaur games that I needed, that I craved.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know, but you have let everybody enjoy this game. Like there is not a kaiju fan that will be missing out. You have sprinkled that magic dust everywhere. I can't say how much I appreciate that. It's great.
Yeah, I think it's super key nowadays to be able to do that. And honestly, we're a pretty small studio. So I really have to hand it to our publisher, Way Forward. They're the ones that are helping make that possible.
That's cool.
So
thank you, Way Forward.
Yeah, thanks, Way Forward. For those who may or may not remember, back on the Game Boy Advance, there was a Godzilla game.
Oh, Domination.
Yeah, they made that. So they've
did
got
they?
a little experience. Yeah.
Oh, that's a fantastic game. That was like Destroy All Monsters Melee, but in a 2D sprite type thing. Yeah. Fantastic game.
So yeah, thanks to them, like we get to hit everything, and it's. I'm excited about that because I want as many people as possible to be able to pick this up, especially because there's been such a long time since we've had a big Godzilla game or a big kaiju game. Like there was the PS4 game back in 2014.
Yeah,
it was only on PS4. It was, I mean, if you like destroying generators, it's a game for you.
It's a great game, and it looks really good. Like the guy was just like, I really like SH Monster Arts figures. I want a game where I can digitally play with my SH Monster Arts figures. He made everything he set out to do. The rest of us maybe have been wanting a little something more.
Yeah.
Oh, well, but
it is a shame.
I'll tell you what, though, it took me forever to figure out how to get Jet Jaguar. That is like the one thing about that game that took me a long time. I had to go online and like, what's going on? But yeah, I wanted to get Jet Jaguar, and I wanted him to shake my hand too. I had to make sure that happened. Because you can do that. But hey-ho.
Wow. But yeah, there are some cool Easter eggs. Like you can do, Godzilla can do the Shie dance thing.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I think that they did that really good, but it's just one of those games where it was an almost perfect execution as far as like the feel of the monsters and stuff like that, but more than one playable character and a better story mode and like actual fighting. I think that would have like really like knocked that out of the park.
Yeah, it felt like they wanted to make sure that it was like the ultimate homage to the movies, like as accurate as kind of possible. But,
it just wasn't that fun to play.
Yeah, I mean, that was one thing that when we were developing Dawn, we were like, okay, Kaiju move really slowly. Is it fun to play as something that moves really slowly? And we all kind of looked around and we were like, no, we're going to throw realism aside for a minute and we're going to just focus on like making it as fun as possible and find other ways to make them feel big, you know?
Yeah.
Which is kind of like what, you know, the Pipeworks games did, right? Like in the Pipeworks
Exactly,
games,
yeah.
Godzilla can jump like, what, 60 meters or 70 meters? Something crazy like that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but those really are kind of like the gold standard of Godzilla games. Everybody,
You know,
everybody
they
will
put fun
remember
first.
those. Yeah, that was great, and I just they gave me a Titanosaurus I could play as. I mean, like that may not have been the best execution that game, but I will remember it fondly just for that one thing. I remember like they did like that weekly release, you know, of like all the different monsters, and like, you know, like the slots were filling up and everything, and I was getting more and more like, oh, don't do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, last time you added like monsters that no one even knew about, monsters just came out of the blue. I just want my Titanosaurus, and then they gave it to me. It was glorious.
Yeah,
I must have lost that. I watched that stupid little animatic that they had, like who knows how many.
I was about to say I watched that thing so many times where he did like a jump and then a tail flip and then he
slams his tail down. Yeah. It was good.
No, I was over the moon when I saw that.
And then they had Varan. Like, how often do you see Varan make an appearance? I was like,
that.
They're doing it. And then I remember, what was it? Was it Godzilla Save the Earth? Like the one that was just before that. So I remember seeing Biolante's stamp when they advertised that. And then where is she?
Yeah, got removed.
And then like you talk to the developers, like she's actually on the disc, but you can't access her.
Yeah.
That was sad.
What? What? And then he says like, oh yeah, I've played at her. She's great. What?
Yeah. The days before DLC, they couldn't finish her.
Yeah.
That game's great, and I also really loved the there's a fighting game for Super Nintendo that was only in Japan.
Oh,
Kaiju,
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah. I love that game. That game's it's like Street Fighter. It's Godzilla Street Fighter.
Right. Oh yeah.
It's so good. It's so solid. Like, do you remember? You've probably come across this. You're a game developer, Mugen. Yeah, where you could like just like download or mod it however you wanted. Like, you could just basically like get the Godzilla characters off that game, put them in there, and then you could have yay.
Yeah, they've got Godzilla, they've got Gamera, they've got Ultraman. You can create your wildest fantasies in that game.
Oh yeah, that's the next thing that needs to happen. We need to have Godzilla and Gamera face off. We've had our Kong versus Godzilla rematch. Yeah. You have to wonder what's going on, because I want to say that like Toho is now partnered with, affiliated with, something like that, with what became of Daiei, and like it could happen. And yet, despite every fan wanting to see that, it probably won't.
They don't want the pressure.
Toho does not. There was a game that came out on PS4 a couple years ago called City Shrouded in Shadow.
Yeah.
Yep, I've got that.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. So it's got Godzilla, it's got Gamera, it's got Ultraman, it's got Neon Genesis Evangelion, it's got Patlabor. But so I was like, wow, are they finally putting Godzilla against Gamera in a thing?
No.
Part of the stipulation of the license to make that game was that Godzilla, Gamera, and Ultraman will never meet on screen. So like that was part of the deal. Is that, hey, they can be in the same game, but they shall never the two shall meet in any way, shape, or form. Toho, I think, still has a bit of a grudge after Gamera kind of aped them in the 60s, I guess. Or maybe they're still mad that Guardian of the Universe got so many awards. I don't know.
It was a good film.
They
Shin, they got those
Shin,
people.
yeah,
They made Shin, and Shin got a bunch of awards. So,
well, Shin got to meet Evangelion. I mean, like that was a marketing extravaganza.
True.
People loved that, but I mean, like, just let the giant dinosaur fight the giant turtle. I mean, like, we've got the giant monkey and the giant dinosaur. Just get the turtle like, rah, and they'll go scream, and it's great. Just do it. Someday, like a fan will rise through the ranks, the savior, and
Well,
make
there's that-
this film.
Some guy on Twitter.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
saw
does
that.
yes.
CG things.
That was
Wow.
amazing.
I hope someone at Toho sees that and goes, "Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. Maybe we should try it."
No,
No, they'll probably
someone
take it down.
no, someone at Toho is going to go, yeah, lawsuit.
Yeah, exactly.
They get very stingy about. Well, they're very protective of Godzilla, and they rightly should be.
Yeah,
because
it's
he's a cultural icon, a media icon, and Kong went into public domain. So that's why how you get like Kong and all sorts of stuff. Like, like it fell through. That's why you get like people just buying up rights. Like people can have comics, people can make movies, and they can be completely unrelated. There's no control over that character really anymore.
Well, and it's even a little more complicated than that, because like part of King Kong is in the public domain, sort of, or was, and then got purchased. Like, so I did an article on my blog recently, a two-parter about King Kong video games.
Mm-hmm.
And recently there was a King Kong VR game released in arcades, as well as a bunch of like King Kong, or like a King Kong slot machine. And it's called King Kong of Skull Island, but it is not Kong Skull Island. It is not that King Kong. It's a King Kong licensed from Joe DeVito's like comic books and novels. Which is like a unique entity to like the King Kong that fights Godzilla. Those are like two different licenses, because one is a print publication and one is a movie. It's a headache. It's a nightmare. I've had the whole right situation explained to me multiple times, and it never sticks.
Which one do you like? Do you like Joe DeVito's, or do you like?
I read some of the comics. I haven't read his novels, but the comics were pretty neat.
You need to read the novels. I'll tell you
I've
what.
heard good things about those, so maybe I'll have to check that out.
We've had Joe on the podcast, and it's one of those cases where the Kong in the MonsterVerse timeline, he's done very well, and it's fun to watch that Kong. But what Joe's done is he's created the whole mythology of that island. And he's done such a phenomenal job with that mythology and tying everything together and making sure it all works, that once you read those books, you kind of don't have a flavor for any Kong but that, because he explores it so vividly and in such a detailed and respectful way. It's just, I don't know. I mean, like, I love King Kong versus Godzilla. I love Kong Skull Island. Those are great. And I love the 1933 original, the Dino De Laurentiis film. I don't know where I stand on that quite so much, but it has Rick Baker in a gorilla costume, though. I mean, that's cool. But Joe DeVito's Kong has become Kong for me. And indeed, I have all his works, and I have a print that he sent to me as well, because I'm such a fan. I'm a super fan now.
Wow.
But it took that Kong to really sway me, because I was a diehard Godzilla fan. That like my family pushed me into this corner. Like, there's no way Kong could beat Godzilla. He is a walking radioactive flamethrower. But Joe DeVito's Kong is just, like I said, it's there, and there's so many dinosaurs in it. It's great.
Yeah, well, you should check out if you ever, I don't know, get to a Dave and Buster's. I don't even know if they have those in the UK.
No.
Some arcade thing. Maybe when you come over for that trip, there is this thing called King Kong of Skull Island VR, and it's like there's that I forget what they're called. Those two-headed T-Rex, the two-headed T-Rex, big.
God,
More.
from
he's in it. Like it's genuinely a kind of, you're exploring that Skull Island. It looks pretty slick.
That's awesome. Yeah, Gaw, for those listeners who may not know, Gaw is the big mama dinosaurian antagonist on Skull Island in Joe DeVito's universe. And before Gaw, there was another one. Basically, this is like a raptor that undergoes like a certain hormonal transformation that gigantifies it. It becomes kind of like a queen among ants, you might say, for raptors. Anyway, in like the prehistory or the history of Skull Island, when it was first getting colonized by the ancient civilization, they ran into a two-headed version of whatever it is Gaw is, and it was not friendly. And then Gaw, as we now know the character, was the antagonist for Kong. So Gaw in Joe DeVito's storyline is responsible for the death of Kong's parents. And in the course of King Kong's life, because of that memory that's like burned into him, he knows that the raptors can turn into that. So he hunts down any raptors that he can find to prevent them from becoming another Gaw, because he knows that. And it was kind of neat because Gaw was the last of hers and Kong was the last of his. And like they kind of come together and meet right before the events of the 1933 film. But it's a really cool story, and it has pirates too, it just makes it so good.
That's a bonus. I really got to read these books. I should hunt them down.
Well, it's neat because what he does is he explores the prehistory. He wrote he kind of like helped modernize the screenplay novel that came out for King Kong. Joe DeVito did. And then if you read all of his works, there's a Doc Savage on Skull Island. For those of us who know who Doc Savage is, he's kind of like a precursor for a lot of different characters that came after him, but he's kind of like a detective adventure for hire. And he landed at Skull Island when Kong was still there. But in that book, you find out that Doc Savage is responsible for taking the remains of King Kong back to Skull Island. So it's just kind of neat, like how he's just encapsulated like the whole mythology. And then his original book, Kong, King of Skull Island, basically it's Carl Denham's son that goes back to Skull Island to just kind of figure out what's been going on, because his dad disappeared after the New York fiasco. And you get to find out what happened right before, and then it kind of closes up the story quite neatly. Yeah. Sorry, wildly off topic.
About to say, Joe, I think it's time we wrapped it up, actually, now you've gushed about Kong.
Sorry, I'll take any chance I get to. I love those books. Sorry.
So let's just go straight on to If Nothing Else.
Of course, that's definitely something that we should do. So if nothing else, we're going to be checking out your amazing game that's coming out called Dawn of the Monsters, right? And I am totally going to hit that up because I think I know two young boys in my family that will finally play a kaiju game with me. And, anything to bridge that age gap, like this is great.
Yeah,
so
of course.
We're going to be looking for that in February. And so we have a PS4 and that'll be really cool. We'll totally download that. And fun times. So Alex, what would you recommend aside from your game, which I totally stole the thunder on? Sorry.
What would I recommend? Video game wise?
Yeah, go for it. You're
wise. Okay, yeah. Well, so for those who are, still obviously waiting for Dawn of the Monsters, a game I recommend checking out, and I think it's on PS4, Switch, PC, or you can emulate it or whatever, is a classic game called King of the Monsters and King of the Monsters 2.
Yeah.
Excellent choice.
Those games are really fun, especially with a friend playing co-op. And the King of the Monsters 2 was like a bit of an inspiration for Dawn because it has a kind of beat 'em up style sequences in between the fights. But check out King of the Monsters and King of the Monsters 2. I've also got an article going over the history of that series on my blog, Control All Monsters. There's a lot. There's a couple different versions. It's really fun, and it's my recommendation.
That's awesome. Oh man, I remember that game. See, it drove me nuts when I first tried to play it because I was just like, right, what's this board? What am I doing? It was just it was so confusing.
I was like, I have to pin them. What do I do? And then, it's wrestling.
Yeah. It's great. Oh my gosh, that takes me back. Paul, what do you got?
Joe, I was actually going to say King of the Monsters because I've been playing that. I got myself.
It goes full circle.
I stole your thunder
because I think I've got it on the Switch. I've got it on the PS4, and I've also got the Neo Geo Mini arcade cabinet that's got both of them on. So I've got all the different versions. Absolutely love that game. And you've stolen it from me. So now, I guess I could. I want to say Primal Rage now because we've been talking about that.
Well, you'd steal my thunder. There you go.
How can we play that now? Did they ever re-release it?
It's
Are they-
not hard. It's not hard to find. So
Yeah.
all you got to do really is you just go on eBay and you just type in Primal Rage PlayStation, and
Will a PS1 disc play in my PS4 or 5? I don't. They're
They
not
work-
backwards compatible, are
In
they?
your PS3, if you have PS3.
I've got
Yeah, my
PS3.
PS
Yes.
my PS3 plays it, and
Okay.
you will pry it from my cold dead hands. But the other
Otherwise,
thing
there is on PS2, GameCube, Xbox, and PC. There's Midway Arcade Treasures. I think it's Volume 2. That has the arcade perfect.
Oh,
So
nice.
Wait, when you say arcade perfect, does it include certain fatalities that should not be named?
it's very complicated. Like
It's
it's
censored, right?
well, it's less censored than the console versions,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more censored than like the early arcade versions.
Mhm.
It's weird, but it has like moves and attacks and animations and music and stuff that's just not in the console versions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm good. That's
Can
my
you make it-
recommendation. That one.
Can you make it rain cows?
I see. I don't know if you can. I know you can. I'm pretty sure you can.
I love how you know what I'm talking about
you
too.
can. You can piss acid on your opponent. I'm
I know
pretty sure
that's
you can do
that's the golden shower fatality. Yeah, the one that
Yeah.
got all the parents groups angry.
Oh,
that. Yeah.
But-
the 90s were awesome.
The 90s
So-
were wild.
Yeah, so folks, what I am alluding to here is that there is a way in Primal Rage. So you have these little followers that run back and forth, and occasionally you can eat them to regain some health while you're doing this Mortal Kombat game. But if you kick one in the air and the other person like hits it back, you can play like a game with this, and the person will turn into a volleyball. And if you do it long enough, a net will appear. And if you keep doing it even longer, it will start raining cows. It's a pretty great game.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, you know what? Clay Fighter 64. I don't know why that's just popped into my
Oh.
head, but that's another crazy game.
Similar one. There's also a game called Dino Rex. Came out before Primal Rage, and it's
Hmm.
essentially a one-on-one Ray Harryhausen dinosaur fighter.
Writing this down.
Yeah.
What is it?
Check it
Dino
out.
Rex?
Dino Rex.
REX or
REX. Yeah.
oh yeah. What platforms is that for?
It was only in arcade, so you can emulate it on main.
No.
But yeah, it's a weird game. It's cool though. Check it out on YouTube.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I'll be Googling that then.
it will have to be weird. I mean, like, how else would it be interesting? Oh, that's awesome. Did you ever play the Jurassic Park Warpath game?
Oh yeah, that game's fantastic.
That was a great game. And then like you could unlock the different skins and everything for that too.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Actually,
What a
I've
great
got
time.
speaking. You know, I know we're trying to wrap up the episode, but I picked this up the other
We-
day after
I have him downstairs.
the Lost World Bull T-Rex is
Oh.
something that I saw in Toys R Us as a kid,
Yeah.
and
I want it.
yeah, I never got it, but I found one at a flea market. So
One moment, good sir.
no, we're doing toy show and tell.
Hello, hubby. How are
that's
you?
Awesome. That's fantastic.
This.
The original P1 T-Rex.
See, the thing is like Kenner made so many good toys, right?
Yeah.
And we have like the likes of NECA that are like redoing all the Kenner aliens and doing homages and everything. When, guys?
True.
When?
Why haven't they? I guess it's because like Mattel has the license. Is it Mattel or they've moved somewhere else?
I think it is Mattel that has the current license, and they are doing a great job, to be fair. But there is something to be said that, you know, like they had like the dinosaur real feel skin, you know, like the original
Oh, yes.
Kenner ones,
I remember that on the
Yeah.
box.
like the rubbery, you know, like
Yeah.
goodness.
Love
And I don't know, it just gave it extra added quality. And the boys, they play with like those Kenner figures, but the Bull T-Rex is downstairs in our toy room, you know, getting its play that it well deserves and has earned. The big red Rex, however, is staying in my room. Thank you very much. That is my toy to play with.
Nice.
But like they will pick that up. They have like the Mattel Indominus one that like lights up and roars and does all this stuff. But the Kenner Bull T-Rex can eat people. I mean, it just has that stupid magical appeal. It doesn't.
You can just put stuff in its stomach.
Yeah. That was a great find. Wow, flea markets, great stuff.
Yeah, looked out.
Oh, anyways, we've had a fantastic episode with you. I love how I went terribly off topic, but I'm really excited.
Usual, Joe, as usual.
I know it's part of the charm of this podcast, really, but I'm really excited for this game. I honestly am. I mean, I've been trying to stave off Hungry Shark for a couple weeks now, and I can get them totally amped for a monster game, which I will play. So this is great, and it's customizable. You got new skins, it has a tutorial so I can learn it. We can get it all on the different platforms. This is great. I am totally amped for this.
Awesome.
Folks, thank you so much for listening. And as always, keep it kaiju.